Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren are shown at the starting of movie. They are conducting an investigation of the Amityville house to gather information for the church. While investigating, when Lorraine tries to contact with the demon's spirit, a child's soul takes her in the basement. And Lorraine first time sees a demonic nun in the mirror. It scares her at the beginning. And afterward, it shows the view of Ed's death. Seeing it, Lorraine is terrified badly. Then 4 siblings in school are shown. Janet is the main character of story among them. These kids are coming to home. Their mother was Peggy, who was fostering their 4 children independently. Because her husband leaves them due to some matrimonial issues. Their mother was under a great responsibility because their father had not been sent the charges to them for the last 3 months. So Peggy was in tension. In spite of it, she used to take care of her kids, nurturing them. Janet is playing with a spirit board at night and also asks her sister Meg Ray to accompany her. They both ask the question from a soul there through this spirit board. But there is no response. Janet also asks, will her father return? When all family members are taking rest at 1:04 a.m., Janet is awakened at that time. She finds herself in the living room located on the ground floor. But she is unable to understand it, that how has she come here? Someone knocks hardly at the door of Meg Ray, who is sleeping in her room. There is no one when Meg Ray checks opening the door. Janet reaches there at that time. And Meg Ray thinks that Janet had knocked at the door. Taking it normal, she is fallen asleep going. Then location of US is shown, where Ed and Lorraine are consulting with a doctor on TV show. That doctor puts blame on Ed and Lorraine, calling them pretender. Hearing it, Ed Warren is got furious. And the show ends here. Janet and her brother are shown playing with Crook toy. Her brother attempts to communicate with it because he can't speak clearly right now. At night, when everyone is sleeping, her brother Billy goes to the ground floor for drinking water from kitchen. He notices the 2 swings outside the house while drinking water. One of the swing was moving as such as someone is on it. Janet is talking with someone, turning her face into a dark corner in her room. Meg Ray is awakened because of her. She is speaking, directing herself towards it, that you must leave our house. Who are you? And also leave Billy. And at first sight, she herself begins to speak in harsh tone. That you will all die, and also Billy. Going to Janet, Meg Ray relaxes her, falling her asleep, and she also sleeps coming on her bed. Janet shouts, coming near the bed of Meg Ray, keep away from Billy. And leave us alone. Meg Ray is annoyed on Janet. Suddenly, an old man voice is heard in the same corner who says, leave my house alone. And go away from here. Hearing it, Meg Ray is terrified badly, and she finds no one switching on the light. There is someone on the living room's armchair when Billy is moving upstairs after drinking water. And a toy is stumbled with Billy's foot. He passes it into a play tent with his foot. But Billy hears the voice of someone from that play tent as he comes to his room. And when he is going to fall asleep, that toy moves out of his room automatically. Picking that toy, he again moves it into the play tent. But it is returned back to him. Billy is frightened seeing it and goes to his mother while running. He says to his mother, there is someone in the play tent. But there is no one when his mother checks the play tent. But Peggy immediately hears sound of someone and moving downstairs. She is left astonished. Janet is seated on the armchair. Janet says to her mother, she may have come here while sleepwalking. Janet is suffering from high temperature. On it, her mother says to her that you will not go to school tomorrow. Because you are not well. Janet is alone in her house next day. While watching the TV. And suddenly, TV's channel are begun to change. Janet keeps remote control aside, setting a channel according to her choice. But changing of channel is again started. And Janet does also not find the remote control when she checks. A call of Janet's mother is received. While talking to her mother, she sees that remote control is on the armchair automatically. She feels frightful seeing it. And she instantly picks the remote control and starts watching TV. Now the channel's signals are out. While connecting the TV signals, Janet notices an old man on the armchair holding a remote control in his hand. Turning back, Janet finds no one. And suddenly remote control is fallen down. Janet is gone upset. Then that old man says, shouting in her ear, that it is my house, go away, leaving it. and Janet is afraid. After it, Ed and Lorraine come on the scene. Ed is making a painting. And seeing it, Lorraine got that it is demonic nun. Ed tells Lorraine about his last night nightmare. And this demonic nun is in his mind from that time. So he has made her painting. Lorraine becomes agitated when she hears this and announces that they will no longer handle spiritual cases for a while. Before sleeping, Janet ties herself with bed at night so that she may not go anywhere in sleepwalking. At midnight, someone knocks Janet out of her bed, waking her up. And her door is knocked. Going outside, she notices armchair which is rocking itself. Frightened, Janet locks the door coming into her room and tries to sleep. But the door itself is opened. Janet is frightful and hears the walking sound of someone. As someone is moving towards her. And someone bites her shoulder coming near her. As a result, she shrieks, awakening Maigret. At the same time, their beds start shaking forcefully. Both running girls move to their mother. When Peggy comes to the room for checking, then she finds the same spirit board. Seeing it, she scolds both of them. Meanwhile, a cabinet table blocks the door, moving before them. Now all are afraid. They come to their neighbors leaving their house. Peggy tells neighbors about all happenings faced by them. And they call police immediately. And police hears a noise of someone in walls while checking. And a chair is seen moving. And police suggests Peggy to take help from church because this case is not related to them. Then Lorraine is seen with her daughter and she visualizes the demonic nun who scares Lorraine. While asking her, who is she? Lorraine is tearing her Bible's pages with pen. And Lorraine again asks, what does she want? And she again shows the site of Ed's death. Coming out from range of view, Lorraine is fret. And her daughter brings her into senses. A member of TV crew talks with Peggy about Janet and Maigret's interview. While interviewing, when interviewer asks that demon should contact us if it is there. Then the voice of Janet is changed into an old man. That old man says, his name is Bill Wilkins. He lost his sight at the beginning and then died suffering brain hemorrhage on the placed armchair in the corner. And he also says that he likes Agony of Hodgson family. All were shocked seeing all this. After that, interviewer supports them taking these paranormal incidents. On the other side, one of their partner claims that Janet is only acting in a fake way. Some witnesses who tell about the paranormal incidents are also shown while interviewing. Peggy and all her kids are sleeping in the neighbor's house at night. And Janet is fully possessed by the crook man. It wants to kill their neighbor's kids. And Janet is totally witchcrafted by that crook man. And Janet is fallen down losing her senses. Here one more fact is revealed, that there is also the spirit of crook man with the old man. Before Ed and Lorraine Warren, father plays the tap in which Janet's voice has been recorded. When they both hear this voice, they also believe that it is the voice of an old man. On it, father tells, this is the voice of 11 years old girl only. And father says, I expect your visit in England and resolve the problem of this family. Lorraine did not want to deal with these cases, so she forbids Ed also. Lorraine informs Ed that the demon of his maid painting is actually in reality. And in fact she has also faced it in. She also informs Ed of the locations where she saw the demonic nun. And Ed's death vision was also shown by it. Then Ed gives her understanding, saying that a family needs our help. So they should help them. At last, Lorraine agrees on it. Then Ed and Lorraine Warren reaches in England. Visiting in their house, Peggy guides them towards Janet's room. There were many stuck crucifixes on the wall. Peggy tells Ed, they have set them in order to weaken the strengths of demon. In spite of these things, sounds are heard. And Peggy again locks that room. Peggy also shows that armchair which has been mentioned by us many times. While weeping, Janet tells Lorraine that she cannot sleep for the whole night. She says, I used to sleep in school but now she is not going to school. Lorraine asks Janet about the coming voice of old man's from the room. In order to show the proof to church, Janet is seated on that armchair by Lorraine and Ed. And they try to communicate with demons. Janet tells to all that demon will not talk until they continue to see in her eyes. So all turn around their faces. Then Ed asks a question from that spirit and it is replied by it. That spirit replies that she has come to meet its family. Ed shows the cross to it, scaring it. It begins to scream saying, "Let me go! Save me!" At first sight, Janet is restored throwing water from her mouth. Lorraine says that she has not yet feel the supernatural being. After awakening at night, Janet finds herself upside down in hanging posture with ceiling of the downstairs room. And the old man demon is seated on the armchair placed in the corner. And that demon pulls Janet up and she moves into her room. And all fixed crucifixes in the room are turned upside down. And then old man demon attacks on Janet scaring her. And Peggy also loses her sleep hearing the shriek of Janet. And she could easily seen that demon easily. Meanwhile, Ed and Lorraine also arrive there. Ed and Lorraine go into the room opening the door and saves the life of her. The old man demon has not seen them but Lorraine observes one shaking crucifix. Ed and Lorraine trust on this family. But they still not have seen that demon. For which they adjust the camera and other camera equipment in the whole house so they may record all supernatural incidents in them. Helping Peggy, Ed visits in the basement for repairing the washing machine of them. And Ed begins to repair the water pipe. Then Peggy notices a moving shadow towards Ed. And she informs Ed about it. But turning back, he finds no one. Immediately, old man demon attacks on Peggy biting her hand. On the further side, Janet notices another demon in the kitchen. And Billy is moving towards him aiming for fight. Janet strictly warns him on it. And Janet also reaches there. But Janet is badly possessed by it. And then all reach there hearing the shrieks of the kids. And suddenly mysterious being begins to throw the domestic things to and fro. And the kitchen's door is closed itself. Breaking the door of kitchen, Ed searches Janet. Janet is found in the cabinet on whom demon is heavily possessed. And the same host who was considering it histrionic on part of Janet, shows a video to all of them. In which Janet was throwing the things here and there. So it is the proof before them as Janet is behaving histrionically. Peggy is got angry when that lady calls her histrionic blaming her. She is burst out and asks everyone to leave. And Ed and Lorraine Warren also leave. Only her neighbors used to trust on Peggy among them. Then Janet's siblings ask her, why did she act like this? Then she replies, demon spirit had asked her do as such. And brother Johnny could be killed if she did not obey. Ed and Lorraine Warren were not believing on all these incidents. But they were thinking, if Janet had to make the situation histrionic then why did she act in that room where the cameras were fixed? That captured data is recollected by Ed. And they hear the recording of that time when old man had possessed Janet. Then he receives a message from two re-recorded voices. When he plays two recordings together then the message is complete. The message was that she does not allow me to go. Meanwhile, Lorraine visualizes the old man demon sitting on the armchair. The old man demon tells Lorraine that he had come here to see its family. Now he is leaving. He says, she does not permit me to leave now. And Janet is also bewitched by the same demon. And she will not abandon Janet, he also gives Lorraine a clue to capture that demon. And then Lorraine looks at that demonic nun behind that old man's spirit. Lorraine's nose is bleeding when she comes out from her vision. Then they both understand as there is something wrong. And they return back to Peggy's house. The old man's spirit and crook man are only the pawns so that no one may reach to the real demon as demonic nun. And Janet is badly possessed by that demon at home. And it bewitches her. Janet throws Meg Ray on the floor throwing her in the air with her satanic power. And Peggy brings her kids out. As she moves inside to take Janet, the door is itself locked. At the same time, Ed and Lorraine Warren are also reached there. Ed tries to break the door but it locked firmly. Then Ed tries to enter through window. But a flying sofa blocks the window coming from that room. But Ed had to rescue Janet so he moves inside through the back way of basement. And when Lorraine follows Ed in the basement, that door is also locked. Lorraine stops Ed saying demon is potent. And Ed will not be able to face that demon alone. But Ed enters inside ignoring her. Lorraine is gone upset thinking that she is not going inside with Ed. On the other side, Ed tries to enter that room making the way through basement. Meanwhile, a water pipe is bursts on Ed's eyes. Consequently, his eyes are injured making his view blurred. Hearing the sound of music, he moves towards it. When Ed proceeds, we encounter a demon's hand on the wall. And at that time, Crookman is exactly at the backside of Ed. And Ed arrives in the TV lounge. And Ed hears the voice of Jane from the top floor at the exact moment. And Demon's voice is also heard. Then Ed requests that Demon to leave while taking off the crucifix from his neck. And Lorraine gathers all memories related to the demon there. Lorraine learns instantly that Demon had also told its name to her. And its strength can be weakened taking its name before it. It can also be possessed. She also recalls writing the name of a demonic nun in her Bible. Then the lighting from sky falls on the outside tree spoiling it. And that tree is shaped as such as Lorraine had visualized. Further, Ed reaches at the top floor searching Janet. Crookman comes there immediately attacking on Ed but Ed saves his life. And then Ed also reaches in the room of Janet. He notices that Janet has been fully bewitched by the demonic nun. Suddenly the window pane is broken and Janet tries to jump from it. And there is the pointed tree at the below side. Ed exerts too much to stop her. As Janet is nearly to jump, Ed catches her hand. But Ed is also entrapped here. They both begin to fall slowly. Lorraine also reaches in that room with a moment. And she notices the demonic nun who was doing all this. As Lorraine proceeds to rescue Ed, Lorraine is thrown away by the demonic nun. Lorraine then asks it to return to hell, calling it Valak. And that demonic nun power is weakened gradually. And it has to return back to hell. Then Lorraine assists Ed and Janet by pulling them up, thereby rescuing both of their lives. Everything comes to its routine as demonic nun leaves. And in the last we see Janet is in normal state. Peggy and Janet gratify Ed and Lorraine coming there. And movie ends with it.